Today we are reviewing Nosferatu 2025, New Year's Day release. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
This film is written, directed by Robert Eggers. It's a remake of the 1922 silent film Nosferatu, inspired by the novel Dracula from 1897. In this one we have Bill Skarsgård, who's playing Count Orlok / Nosferatu, Nicholas Hoult as Thomas Hutter, Lily Rose Depp as Ellen Hutter, Aaron Taylor-Johnson as Friedrich Harding, Willem Dafoe as Professor Eintracht von Franz, and a few others in there as well, but that's basically the main cast of this one.
Leaving out old Simon McBurney.
Sorry,
come
Simon
on.
McGurney. Oh, yeah.
He's
yes,
great.
as Knock. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, so...
I suppose so, but
Yeah.
grudgingly.
Yeah, no, he's right.
Yeah.
Yes, so we've all seen this one. We've got Mike to my right, Dave to my left.
Hello.
I'm Joe. Good
Hello.
afternoon, good evening, good morning. This is whenever you're watching because it's on YouTube and
Yeah, it
all
could
of
be
that stuff.
50 years from now they could be watching.
Yeah. Hi.
High future.
Ooh, from beyond the grave.
What, are we all dead or?
I don't know, probably. I'm planning it.
You think the cold's going to get you?
Let's start with our reactions to the film. I want to start with you, Dave, today. I want to get your reaction, your initial thoughts. Let us know. What do you think?
I loved it. I really loved it. It was my most anticipated horror film of the year, I think. And I really had to wait a long time for it.
Yeah. You are a big Eggers fan.
I am a big Eggers fan. I've loved
Fanboy.
I loved all of his previous feature films. I've only seen it. I only saw Nosferatu once. I'm not sure if it's my favorite Eggers film.
You think it's in the conversation for, though?
Possibly, and I need to rewatch it to decide. But I really liked it. I thought the performances were really strong. The I guess we'll talk about, was especially strong.
Who? Just give us that.
Lily Rose. Lily Rose Depp. Yeah. She
I
got
think
a
that
lot,
was the standout performance.
yeah, she got a lot of buzz before the film came out, and it took me a second to warm to her.
Yeah, at the start it seemed like she was doing a bit of a Keira Knightley and Pirates of the Caribbean impression to me, but then...
Also, this is non-spoilers at the moment, and then we'll let you know what spoilers are for the viewer.
But yeah, incredible production. I liked the fleshing out of some of the background characters. I like kind of like some of the themes that I felt that he was touching on. Slightly different, or at least weren't as clear in the original.
Yeah, but very much like solidifying some of the themes.
Yeah.
Expanded on them, I think.
Although I will say probably that the Werner Herzog version is still my favorite of the three.
But would you say you prefer it to the original?
Yeah. I know it's probably sacrilegious, but...
Go on, Mike, give us yours.
So I think, well, coming into this, I'm not an Eggers fan particularly, although I do like The Witch / The Vivitch. I'm not a particular fan of the other two. I liked this. It was very good, but I think I'll lead with the positives. I mean, it's a brilliantly shot movie, well directed. The color palette is absolutely amazing. A lot of the performances are very good. I think it takes a lot of great stuff from the original and kind of develops it in its own way. I think it's very entertaining. The atmosphere that it manages to build throughout is good. The whole scene where he first goes to the castle is a brilliant scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. But on the negative side, I think it is a bit too overlong for me. It drags a little in the second half, I would say. The movie kind of has most of its strengths fully front loaded, I think. Not to say that it's a bad movie, but as it was going on, I was feeling like, I've seen the best stuff already. I kind of wish it had been a bit braver and done something different. Maybe I can respect the fact that they kind of went along the exact same path as the original.
Yeah, it was quite faithful. Although I think that actually there were some changes in the second half. I guess we'll talk about it more in spoilers. But yeah, I would probably agree with you that it loses a little bit of steam. And that, in basically every version of this story, the opening act
is the strongest.
Yeah,
I think that's true of the other adaptations as well, right?
Yeah.
So it might just be a problem with the story as it is, and unless you change the story, that's kind
of... I mean, I definitely feel that way about the book, Dracula. I always lose interest after the Demeter.
Yeah. And again, I wish that had more of a focus, but I always do in these adaptations as well.
How about you, Joe?
What about you?
This or 1922?
Yeah, because you haven't seen the.
No, I don't know for
my
you.
comparison.
Yeah.
I can't compare it to the 79 one because I don't remember it very well. It's been a while. Compared to the 22 one, I'd put them around the same level, perhaps. But as you know from our previous coverage of 1922,
you weren't the biggest fan anyway.
Yeah,
were you?
I think it's a classic, and I think it's a very, very good movie. But I'm a lover of other horror movies from the time, so I would probably say, for me, this version is up there with that one, if not slightly better because of the modernization. And in terms of vampire movies as a whole, I'd say it was up there as well. Not at the top. I probably wouldn't even put it in my top 3 or 4, but it's up there. And you, Joe?
Yeah, me. Yeah, so just check out 1922 if you haven't seen that. We got the video on that. Ding, up above us. Yeah, all of that stuff. I think this movie is style over substance.
Oh, see, I almost said that. 'Cause that's what I say about every single Eggers movie, basically. Yeah.
I hate that criticism in general, but fine.
I thought it over stylized it too much for me. I wasn't a big fan of the last act. It starts to drag really big time. I enjoyed the first act. I liked the bit when he goes sees the gypsies and he's in a different land. It's very different there. But I found his character quite weak. I didn't
Hutter?
Yeah, Hutter. I didn't like the characterization of it. I didn't like the way they wrote him. I actually didn't really like the way...
I thought this was the best version of Hutter, to be honest.
I didn't really like the way that they deal with Ellen either. I wasn't a big fan of the characterization, what they've done with the character. I'm not saying anything about the performance of the actress involved. I'm just saying about the actual characterization, what they've done with it. I preferred the way it was in 1922 version. I'm not such a big fan in this version of the idea of they go lean more into the sort of fantasy of it. They lean a bit more into possession stuff, and they lean a bit more into this sort of
it's somewhat of a romanticized story compared to the 1922.
And I wasn't a fan of the way they sort of skimmed over the plague a bit more in this one. And that's one of my favorite.
Yeah,
bits
it's kind of like
third.
a side.
It's a side thing where it was more of a right up front version, and it's quite apt. The timing of this one is quite comparative to the time of the original release. So if you think the Spanish flu in 1919, 1920, and the amount of death which plagued Europe, and then in this scenario we've got COVID was just a few years ago, and almost the same in the same way. And I found that actually the sidelining of that is a bit of an oversight for me.
You really need to see the 79 version. The way they handle the plague is amazing in that.
So does it take much more of a prominent position?
Yeah. There's like an amazing sequence in the end where they basically all the villagers like basically have resigned themselves to death and they have a big party and just
I prefer something more with that.
I think if they brought the plague to the forefront, there'd be a lot of people complaining about, because I'm kind of sick of kind of COVID analogies in movies and COVID references and disease references because they're post-COVID and that's like a current events thing. So it depends on the way it would be handled, of course, but I feel like some people, possibly me, could have written it off as just kind of like it's easy money going for the recent tragic events.
But you're not really going for the recent tragic events. You're going for an incredibly like old school rat infested.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it comes down to how it's handled, of course. But yeah,
I'm not asking them to like start putting screenshots of fucking the NHS in 2020.
You're saying you don't want these 17th century people wearing masks.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's people not wearing masks and they're getting blamed for the plague and so on. Yeah.
But the thing is with this film for me is that I really fell in love with the original version of it, and I was very hopeful for this film. I liked what I saw on the trailers and things like that. I did. But I found that there was a few scary moments in it, and they were quite fleeting. I didn't really like Count Orlok at all.
Do you think he looks a bit like Dr. Robotnik?
Yes, he does. And
Dr. Robotnik.
And he has
that moustache.
Such a ridiculous accent.
I kind of love the
good.
accent.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. Let me speak here.
I'm letting you speak.
Basically, it's set in Germany, right? So if they want to do these characterized voices, then it has to be all the way through. They can't just pick and choose which ones to go. I thought they were going the Chernobyl route. Like the way that they did in Chernobyl, where they were meant to be Russian, and they tried out the voices, didn't work.
Yeah, but he's not a native German. In fact,
No, he's not. But then they're not native Englishmen, are they?
No,
and they're all speaking in very thick English accents.
No, but it enhances the theme of
the
other.
otherness.
Yeah. Which is
otherness into bleh, I want to suck your blood because I'm from Romania, I'm from Transylvania.
He doesn't sound anything like that.
He does.
I think it was very, very well done, at least towards the start of the movie, where he's like heavily breathing while the signing of the
he shouldn't have spoken
deed is going
English for me. There should have been not an utterance of English. He should just be an old school beast.
Well, there is a wealth of speaking what is presumably Romanian. And
that should be fine, and they should do that. I don't mind then. I don't care about an accent then. But I just found them putting his voice in English like that. I was like, nah. No, thank
Russell
you.
Jimmies. Yeah.
Fuck off. That was how I saw it, and I just didn't like that. And I didn't like the way they kept him in the shadows so much, and became... Actually, I quite like the way they do Orlok in the original one, and he's much scarier, more foreboding in the original to this one.
I'd agree that he is more scary in the original, but I like the treatment of him in this, especially with the shadows and stuff.
Oh, and
I guess it's somewhat of a...
Let me put an echo on it. I'm in my house. No, you're there in person at that time.
I think it was very well treated.
I'm on the microphone. Whoa, whoa! It's going to echo me. I'm going to have reverb. Fuck off.
But I don't think it was just a silly accent with all the breathing and like heaviness to it.
Well, he needed inhaler, didn't he? That's all that was.
Asthmatics are scary. Okay, I'm saying it. I might as well, so I can say it. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that characterization is really good, and I couldn't disagree with that more.
I prefer if it was Davros in this.
There it is.
But at the same time, I've got half my body in the style over substance camp as well. Have you seen any of the Robert Eggers movies?
Yeah. I saw The Lighthouse.
Did you think that was style over substance?
No, because I didn't actually mind the style so much in that. I liked the 4x3. I liked it. I like the sort of black and white. I quite liked the experimental nature of that one.
But because this was more of a mainstream
This is a mainstream movie, but which also has a... You know, it's an adaptation of something that's already out. Like, in fact, if there is a movie that kind of justifies a remake, it perhaps is an old silent movie from 1922, where they can expand on things. And I think some of the ideas are actually really quite good. But I just find the style of it, I was like, fucking Tim Burton doing this. Like, I was just sort of...
Yeah, but again, Tim Burton used to make really good movies.
I'm not saying old, I'm saying like, everything's curvy. Yeah. Everything's
saying it's like Dark Shadows or...
that kind of...
Dark Shadows is okay. That's okay.
I don't mind Dark Shadows. I don't mind.
Nah, it's ass. Yeah.
And it's funny I say that, because it's Lily Rose Depp, isn't it? So...
Well, yeah, is she in that with a dad?
Well, yeah, that's her dad, isn't it? So
yeah, I know it's a dad.
I'm just saying in this movie, because the Tim Burton Johnny Depp connection is what I'm saying.
Oh, right. I thought you said she was in Dark Shadows.
No, sorry, I meant that. So, 3 differing opinions on this film.
Should we do spoilers?
Yeah, I'm in the middle again. In the middle. I can't be as fervent about my opinions if I'm in the middle. Yeah.
But come to my side.
I think it's important.
I'm more tempted to go to his side, honestly. But yeah,
I think it's important to go and watch this. If you're out there and you haven't, and you want to go and have a look at it, I would, because some people will like it, some people won't be so keen on it.
I think. Do you not agree that at least it has some very, very good scenes?
I do. I do think there's some incredible scenes in this,
and I'd argue it's worth watching even for those scenes.
It's worth going to the cinema. It's doing well, but definitely support it. And also, honestly, I bet a lot of people haven't seen the original. I hear a lot of people talking about this film, and they're comparing it to Dracula the book.
That's
and
okay
I'm like,
too.
I'm like, well, you haven't seen the original, because all this stuff is in the original. But if you haven't seen the original, I think you might. Well, maybe if you haven't seen the original, Joe, you'd probably enjoy it way more. I think.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
No, you can't. No, you see, you can't say that, because that's an impossibility. and I'm not going to work on impossibilities in this scenario.
He's putting his foot down.
Well, I have, because I don't think that's a fair thing.
I very much think for any remake, unless I hated the original and liked the new one, it probably harms my viewing experience knowing the story, which is why I'm slightly against remakes.
I was actually really looking forward to this. I'm not saying I wasn't. I was really looking forward to this, and I wanted to go in there, and I really wanted to like it. But I kind of got a bit bored at the last third, and I kind of thought this is getting a bit silly. And I didn't like some of the choices they made stylistically with it. That's all it is. It's not necessarily... Yes, I am comparing it to the original, because the original had some of the most iconic scenes in all of cinema. Things that stand up to this day. The spine-tingling thing of Orlok being the other side of the room.
The original had brevity as well, in that it was only an hour and 20 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, and this is overly long. I mean, God, cut 20 minutes out. They could easily cut out... I don't want to know about the backstory of their best friend's children. Fuck off.
What
like, seriously.
What
I don't think there was huge
that they were born. I don't care. Like, I just don't want that. Yeah.
Are we in spoilers territory?
No.
I'll save my comment about the children then.
Yeah, I mean, God. Some of it's like, come on, cut 20 minutes off. I'd be in and out of the cinema a bit quicker. I'd have more of my life back than I'll ever get back again. That 20 minutes is dead now. That's 20 minutes.
That's real hatred.
Jesus Christ.
You sure you're not thinking of Joker 2?
No. I think there are some really fine moments in this film.
Brilliant.
I think even though I agree with some of those points about the latter half of the movie, I think the first half of the movie is so strong that
I reckon it's
like
quite strong.
the mist
Games of
effect.
Thrones me a little bit with like how quickly he gets
season
to the
8 at the end.
like, no, in the sense
it goes
that
bad.
that he gets to the gypsies so quickly in the
right.
inn.
Okay.
I'm like, how long is this journey? We get no scope or scale of that.
That's you wanting it to be 3 hours long then, if you want him walking through fields.
Actually, I prefer they extend the opening act where they're building it up. I'd much prefer that to what they actually did.
Yeah, but that's not what the story's about though. Like that. That's just like they're cribbing the first out from the book.
I think you might not say that if you hadn't have read the original Dracula book. I think you might have a different opinion.
No, I feel it's much stronger. It's much stronger in Nosferatu than in Dracula. That theme. But yeah, can we go to spoilers already and talk about the ending?
Whoa! Yeah, go on. Okay, spoiler territory. Let's go.
So, what about Ellen? Didn't you like the characterization of her?
I did not like the idea that she was some otherworldly type. They're insinuating something more, whereas I quite like in the original that she's
they're not they are kind of making her special, but it's in a minor way, and it comes basically from Orlok. She's only connected to Orlok, she's not connected to anybody else.
They're saying that. So basically, she has the Shining, right? They're saying that she has something, and she was reaching out, and then he connected to her through that.
Touching Orlok,
yeah. But
touching me.
I actually really like that aspect to it. And what I really liked is how, and I don't really know. This is what I was talking about earlier with the theme. I'm not sure if this was implied or not in the original. But by making this prior history with Orlok explicit, and sexual, it's it made me think of woman's shame and how it kind of, especially in that time, how much it comes to define you, and especially with the tying into mental health and stuff as well.
She has a monologue about how he is her shame. And the father finding her and feeling disgraced.
Yeah, and it also makes the relationship with Hutter a bit stronger, right? Because it becomes much more meaningful to her for that reason, as a way of moving past that shame. And then when Orlok comes back, it's why she's so devastated.
It's the duality of her nature as well, right? It brings her
because there's also there's a lot of ambiguity as well in some of it. Like how much is her and how much is him, whether
she is possessed or whether she's just merely possessed by her own instincts.
Does she want
desires,
want it in some way, and that ambiguity was really cool.
So
I felt that she had a lot of agency in this. I like the expanded role of Willem Dafoe's character. Well, I think that his character is new, but he's basically like the useless scientist character from the original. Right?
I'm not sure whether they use the same name, do they? But
no, I think
it's kind of a very much expanded version of him.
And again, talking about the final act, I do think it probably had the most changes. But the reason that I bring it up,
it's kind of a mesh between
it's a lot more like the book, a lot more like, because like it gives Hutter something to do. He gets, and you know, like three or four,
or indeed
like
every other character really something to do, or something to contribute to the
like,
downfall of all.
Like in the original book, when it's like all of her suitors, right? They all team up to kill the brides. So I thought that I liked that. Like I don't think it like massively changed the story for me, but at least differentiated itself from the previous two versions.
And it did something nice in terms of marrying it a bit more to the original story, I guess, making it more complete. Because as I said in the 1922 discussion we had, like I mourned the loss of some of the elements of Dracula, the novel, and a few of them were reintroduced there, which is quite good.
I don't particularly give a shit about that though, because it's Nosferatu. It isn't good. Dracula. Like, yes, I know it's a knockoff of Dracula, and it takes after it, but that's the whole point. Is that it was an unofficial knockoff of Dracula.
But it is still not the Dracula story.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just I don't really care either way, each or about if it has more of that stuff. I mean, to go back. So yes, I understand that having Ellen in that scenario where she brings on Orlok, I just find it makes her less. It makes her character less for me.
In what way?
Not more, because I don't want her to just suddenly be special. I don't want that. I want her to actually be a normal person who then he gets obsessed with. It's this idea of like, is Laurie Strode a sister, or is it an obsession of someone? It's like, okay, whatever, do what you want, but at the same time, I just didn't. It didn't.
Yeah, in the original though, why does Orlok contact Nock and get Nock to send Hutter? There's definitely an implication
because no, there isn't. It's not until he sees that locket. It's not until the locket. I mean, the original, you're just creating a whole subplot.
Why was he looking to buy property right next to where Hutter was living then?
But they did that in the original. I just think proximity was what it was in that original one, not because he wasn't. He was like the other side of his big old claw comes along, doesn't it?
Yeah. For dramatic effect.
Yeah, I just don't think that was much of an actual thought in the original one as such there. I just think he was this sort of innocent guy who they could take advantage of. He went along, he sees her, goes, oh, what a nice neck she has. And then, like...
They do give a reason as to why, or at least it's a cover reason as to why he's moving to Germany in this movie, don't they? Where he says basically, like, everyone around him knows about the folklore and they know about the... You know, what to do with vampires and so on. So he's... To an extent, it could be believable that was the actual reason in the original why he was moving to Germany from a place where people knew how to combat him or could offer him things as like a piecemeal kind of thing that he doesn't want. He wants to be a beast that takes what's not allowed to be given to him. So I could believe that as a reason. Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing explicit either way.
Yeah,
but you know, I don't think that Eggers is reaching too much with it, in my opinion. Like, and it actually, and again, there's no explicit text in the original to say that Orlok had targeted Ellen like from way back. But it's definitely it makes him cooler and more powerful, right? When you look at it that way, that it's a bigger plan. And this version makes that more.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, that he just randomly decides.
Yeah, how is that not in a way scarier that he just, wherever he goes, he brings death with him? And it doesn't necessarily have to be some part of big overarching plan to fuck someone or like to suck their blood.
I'm once again in the middle because I don't really mind either way. As long as they're executed well, which they are in both of these, I would argue, adaptations. You're not going to argue that, but I would. So I don't mind that.
I don't mind.
It's an interesting... I mean, I did say I yearn for more differences from the original, and this is a difference from the original that I like. So I'm fine with that.
I don't mind them going at different angles.
If they'd used that to save her and she survived at the end because of how special, or quote-unquote special she was, then I would have possibly had a problem with it.
Terrible.
But she ended up in the same place as 1922 character, so... Special or not, it didn't change her fate. It's just it's just a very interesting bit of background, I think. And I didn't mind the possession stuff as well that came with it. It wasn't too gratuitous. It wasn't
for the
too...
performance alone, like, it was incredible. Like that first possession scene was when I really understood all the praise.
I thought she was good.
Really? You didn't think it was amazing?
No.
Oh.
I thought
But
it is good.
I also don't think amazing is the right word.
I think
but
you're
it was certainly
over-egging it.
it was certainly the strongest performance, and a performance I
It is
commend.
a strong performance. I just thought some of the things she does, like, they're all going to die, was really shit.
And I wouldn't go that extreme with that direction either. Really shit is extreme.
Yeah, but
I don't know how she really talks, but it does sound like she's doing a bit of a Keira Knightley impression at some times. But when in those emotional scenes, that's
Yeah.
where her performance shines, I think.
I think there's a few. She's good. She's good.
Full stop.
Yeah. It's a good performance. It is.
What do you think of Aaron Taylor Johnson in this?
I usually hate him,
He was good, I thought.
but I didn't hate him here.
Yeah.
So it adds. I liked him in Bullet Train, and now I like him in this. So that's 2 movies from him. Yeah. Yeah, his arc was a bit strange. I'm not sure I bought into it entirely. It's kind of like a bit of a B plot line.
I didn't
wasn't
really
it?
get
It was
his
kind
hatred of it at all
well,
until she mentions it.
well, he was basically hating every other character and denying everything. He was like completely staunch realist.
But not until Anna goes, "Why
point
do
of
you
view.
hate me?" did I think that he hated her.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if that's something to do with the script or that's something to do with his characterization.
Mm.
I'm not sure. But I could have done without that whole subplot.
Yeah.
And
I feel
bring
like
off
to a certain
20
extent he
minutes.
does spend a lot of time just shouting and being confrontational throughout the movie. Maybe a bit more than I could believe at certain parts when his wife and children weren't.
I like
you know,
the comparison between their relationship with the babies and Hutter and Ellen. I like that. I like that they compared to their best friends, they've got a fragmented life and these guys have a full life with kids, and it's beautiful in this opening bit, and these two are trying to plot that together as best they can. I like that. I just don't care so much about them as what the film tried to make me. And that's what I find quite refreshing about the 1922 version, is that it is actually quite short and they're just kind of there as friends, and we know they're friends. Of course people have friends. But they don't necessarily have to be centre of attention, and it just lets the movie play out in a much shorter time.
Yeah. It's the age-old debate of whether every character should be given a background, or... I mean, some people may love that. There might be people that Nosferatu is their favourite movie of all time, and they've been agonising all this time for like more
Yeah. Just more
meat
of that
around
world,
the bones, perhaps.
Yeah, but sometimes you get more and you don't want more. Like when you actually... People always want more, and it doesn't necessarily mean good. Like... So sometimes people don't know what's fucking best for them, and they don't actually need it. Like it's like, just leave it alone. Shawn Michaels, don't come out of retirement and go Saudi Arabia and wrestle. What's the point? Ric Flair, stay retired. Nosferatu,
but this...
stay mysterious. It's the same shit, different Saudi.
This was definitely better than all of those examples, this movie. So, yeah. And we got to see the children get killed, so I was that was a big
That's a fantastic
fan of
That
that.
was-
You don't see that a lot in cinema,
Yeah.
horror cinema. Yeah.
That was one of there was a few too many jump scares for me. I think that's my main criticism.
Yeah.
But that like sequence where
The kind-
he kills the kids
When they
was
fall
really
and
good.
the sound is with such like a heft.
Yeah,
that's great.
That is a brilliant little bit of
I need more
scene
of
there.
that. More
Yeah.
of that in this movie.
And and I mean this comes under the remit of like directorial choices really, but the other bit where towards the start where the carriage door opens on its own and he walks towards it, but then it seems like he's almost hovering towards it. He's moving inhumanely unless like he's under control and stuff. There's so many brilliant decisions here of sound design and directorial presentation, visual presentation.
I wish they'd made
Brilliant.
more of a few bits and little motifs and stuff. I wish they made more of Orlok when he first sees him in the archway, like they do in the original. That's one of those iconic beats from the original. And
you want him to like recreate the shot?
No, I don't want him to recreate the shot. I just want him to make more.
I mean, he did recreate some of the shots.
He did,
recreated
yeah.
the hand over the.
I want them to make more of that, or do something more with Orlok in his own castle. Like I think the original does quite well at sort of, because he's sort of Hutter is in this one petrified from the word go. In the original, he gives him a false sense of security. In some senses, he's like, "Come on, old friend, let's sit around the fire."
He does go from 1 to 100 basically straight away as soon as he arrives there, and the villagers are being weird. Like he's and then they disappear. He's already completely on edge.
Where can you go with that? I quite liked, I like my Dracula type to have.
I liked him a lot more in this version. He felt like, because if any of those things happened, you would be fucking terrified, to be honest. But they established his drive behind doing it because he needs this money, right, to start the life. He's very clearly jealous of his friend, right, having that life that you talked about. But him, like, he was less relatable as a character in the original because he seems so fucking dumb. And then once his usefulness in the opening act is finished, he does nothing anyway.
Well, he does nothing in this one, arguably. Like, nothing he does is of importance. He's still clueless as anything. He's a weak man in this new version. He was a weak man in the original. He's a weak man in this. He's a bit pathetic.
I wouldn't say it was pathetic.
He doesn't really assist at all, I guess.
Yeah, but he's like doing things. He's still, like,
doing things that don't matter and not seeing actually what's in front of him, as he did in the original.
Like what? What should he have seen?
Well, maybe he should have seen that he couldn't actually do anything. Like, there's nothing he could do to help this situation. And in fact, he won't listen to that extent. They actually have a ruse. There's a whole ruse to get him out of the house to make sure that he's not there when the actual main plot and story can happen. So he's out of the way, so he can't fuck it up.
But to a certain extent, in a fantastical movie, this is a little bit of realism. Like, I was getting Salem's Lot vibes, particularly from the little crew that they have at the end when they're trying to take out the head vampire and find Knock instead. It's a little bit Salem's Lot-y, where I can believe, like, not all of them are really prepared for this. Not all of them really driving this. It's Willem Dafoe driving this. So
I don't mind all of that. I just didn't like the way they did it. I didn't like how they did it in that final act. I thought it was long but bizarrely rushed. That's how I felt about that third act. It, like, sort of just suddenly happens and they end up in there, and they, in that whole scene, they could have run into like the angry mob of a town going against Knock or something. There could have been any of that stuff happening.
Yeah, it is kind of sad to lose the kind of mob after Knock thing and go a bit more of a Salem's Lot route. I feel like that could have been visually presented very, very nicely in the stylings.
They could have even, like, gone instead. They could have had been trying to be the peace, trying to do something, or, like, bring these people back into reality. Don't kill this guy. I don't know. I'm just not necessarily a fan of what they actually ended up doing with him to get him out of the picture.
Fair enough.
But I don't mind the idea of it. It's just how they did it didn't gel with.
I like it. I like the finale. I think it turns it around a little bit, especially, the in the bedroom with Orlok stuff. It's just probably, I don't know, half an hour before the finale kicks off that I feel like it's a bit of a drag, and, as you say, needs 20 minutes lopped off.
I don't mind the sexualization of.
I love that when he again, the first one where he's sucking Holt's blood.
That was very
he's like going in for it.
Gyrating. Yeah, that's brilliant. And again, like right at the end, the final showdown and more and that kind of stuff. That's a brilliant scene also.
Yeah, I love the cut to, like, the top down view where you see his, like,
raggedy
body,
Mr. Burns body. Yeah.
And those are the sort of things that obviously weren't available to do in the 1920s. That's the sort of thing that I like about this, is that that's why I say, if any movie deserves an adaptation, it's probably something from the 1920s. Probably something the way they didn't have all these modern technologies, these modern ways, and to really put the creepiness.
But at the same time, trying to adapt something that is so beloved, revered, respected, influential is an almost impossible task. And at that almost impossible task, I think this is a raving success in my book. Even if I don't agree with all of the decisions.
Well, then do we argue that actually it shouldn't have happened?
I mean, I would always argue that. Write your own vampire story, man. Like,
this is going to put eyes in the original, though. Like,
I don't mind that. I don't mind that idea.
Yeah.
But there's millions of people out there who just won't watch it because it's from 1922 and it's silent. Even if it is free on YouTube, people aren't going to watch it. So,
and it's not the best on YouTube. It's not the best version.
Correct.
In fact, it's completely complicated as to which version, as we've discussed in our.
You need to do some reading before you watch the movie.
Yeah. Or some listening, you can listen to us.
Yeah.
Correct. We'll break it down for you.
Yeah. Check it out.
Now you're talking about remakes. I do kind of lament that he didn't do Dr. Caligari. Man, imagine.
Yeah,
That'd have been so good.
With his visual style, and the color palette of the original movie and the surrealism, that would have been an insane. I would have loved that probably, regardless of the meat behind it. That would have been such a beautiful movie. I would have been fine with whatever was in the pie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, as you said earlier, I actually really like the style of this film in the sense of the sort of, some of the camera shots are fantastic. Some of the color palette is really fantastic, and I think harks back to the original with the sort of darker tones and
the kind of blue scaling of it.
Yeah,
and daylight scenes, made to look night.
And I love that.
They look even in static kind of. Two characters facing each other, or even if you're just looking at a window or something, everything's so beautifully framed in a Robert Eggers movie, and the color tone just exaggerates just how you could take a print screen and put it on the wall kind of thing. It's so good.
I love all of that, and there's a lot of this movie I do really like. I didn't like the pirate ship scene though. I thought that was
weird. As brief as most adaptations, and I'm always disappointed. Like, we had 2 hours and 10 minutes to play with here. We couldn't have horrored it up a bit more on the ship.
Well, I think that they had the last voyage of the Demeter last year. They probably just don't want to do it again. Yeah.
But he could have done it better than that.
Probably could have. Yeah, in about 10 minutes, he probably could have done it better. I like that film actually, but
I don't hate that film, because it's such a great chapter in the book.
Yeah.
I'm just begging for someone to give it the credence in film format, but.
And I do like the whole thing with the inn as well. When he does get to the gypsies and they're completely different to him, and he's like the outsider now in this other land, in this weird Romanian land.
Like, and you see them do that ritual.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. Yeah,
that's great. I loved all of that bit.
And seemingly steal his horse as well.
yeah. Just more overtly in this one, and then I'm glad they got rid of the werewolf. From the original, I was like, I hope they don't show the werewolf thing.
That would have been wild. You mean the hyena?
The hyena, yeah.
Well, I mean, he has
that
a
was
legion
ridiculous in the original. That's like my least favourite shot.
He has a legion of dogs, which is quite good as well.
Yeah, I like that.
That adds quite a lot to the sound design in the castle. Like, that whole castle thing, dogs and all, is amazing.
And I like Hutter slipping down the stairs to get into that where he sleeps in the basement in the daytime, and when he actually tries to kill him there and then.
Yeah, and it's so so like panicky and like haphazard, and when he goes to swing his pick or whatever it is, and he grabs it. Brilliant.
But I wanted a bit more play with light and dark when he was there, because during the daytime, some of that area in Transylvania was beautiful, wasn't it? Like, it was completely different, and put him at ease a little bit. And then the night comes and it changes, immediately changes. I wanted a bit more play, light and dark, because that's,
Well, they decided to just commit to him just being straight terrified.
Yeah, which I didn't necessarily like, because it didn't give the actor scope to play with his emotions.
I don't know. I think Nicholas Hoult gives a really good performance. He's a great actor.
It's easy to just be like, I'm terrified. When you have to layer that in with, maybe actually I'm not terrified. Maybe I'm okay. And instead they just cut the day.
I don't know whether it is that easy to be believably terrified for some.
I mean, think of
horror movies with teens and so on, where they're all quote unquote terrified and just.
Yeah, but that's why none of them made it to the point he has. For an actor of his caliber, I want to see more nuance. I'm not saying like, the thing is, right, what I'm saying right now and being annoyed, I actually don't mind this film. I just think if you're actually going to judge it, you've got to judge it on all its downfalls and pitfalls and everything that's good about it. And I'm taking the part of everything that's not
the hater.
As good at it.
Yeah.
And I think
I agree with probably about 50% of your points.
Half is fine. I'll take half.
Yeah. So.
And I just think there could have been more nuance with the castle. That's all there. I just and the performance there as well.
I mean, honestly,
I already said I didn't really like Orlok. His characterization. I thought it was a bit.
What was wrong with his characterization?
I've already said about the whole blah blah.
So
Romanian accent.
The voice.
I like that. That's great.
I didn't like the voice. I wish he didn't speak English. Just spoke Romanian. I don't care about that. Like, if it was just that. I don't like him being in the shadow so much. I want a bit more.
Well, you
of
wanted
the
him like
character.
front and center.
I felt like they were hiding him because he looks stupid, like Dr. Eggman.
It does look a bit like
And he has
Dr.
a
Eggman.
freaking moustache and a comb over thing going on. Like,
But
what the fuck?
I think it does look ridiculous on first glance, but because
Put him in
of
a nice tie.
because of the voice, which you hate so much that I like,
Yeah.
and because of the way the tension is built in the scene, that somewhat odd, weird-looking man does actually become scary.
Yeah,
I
I think because they actually commit to it actually works.
Yeah,
I think.
I believe
creates
in it.
a distinct
Yeah.
look from the previous two versions, like very distinct from
very
the
much
previous two
so,
versions.
because we've
Yeah.
seen Nosferatu vampire stylings hundreds of times.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah,
As much as we've seen,
like Dracula.
yeah, your suave debonair suit
Yeah.
wearing Dracula. So
I would say distinctively inferior, though.
that's such a hater.
Well,
It's different, Joe. Deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's supposed to be like. I mean, matter of fact, he is supposed to be like a 300-year-old man.
Yeah.
The style at the time was probably that moustache and looking like that, right? So yeah,
Yeah, suppose.
I can roll
And
with it.
He
Yeah,
speaks with that in mind, I guess, as well, in old tongue.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So I think, given the fact that it is a fantastical movie anyway, more so than the 1922 one, I can forgive and perhaps, well, not perhaps, I can completely roll with the accent and the look because it's treated and executed so well. If it wasn't executed so well, I'd be right there calling him Dr. Eggman
Yeah,
and dissing it completely.
it was
but-
definitely a risk. Like,
Yeah,
if they didn't pull
but
it
I
off,
think it paid
like,
off.
It's a big swing, and it could have been a big miss. But no, it really
I was
worked
waiting
for
for
me.
Sonic. Ding, ding, ding.
You thought Jim Carrey played
Yeah.
Warlock in this. Yeah.
Maybe I went into the wrong cinema screen.
Sonic 3 is on as well, yeah.
Oh, good times. Let's get our final thoughts on this film then. I'll go first. On this one.
You're going to give it a number out of 10? You're going to give it something ridiculous like 5?
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Oh.
Because, because I think you're misunderstanding part of the, Elon Musk X era, where if I am taking the part of someone...
So you're Elon Musk?
I'm not Elon Musk. I'm saying you two are like more like Elon. That I can be critical of this film and still think it's actually quite good. I do think it's good. I think there's some really great stuff in there. I do find there's too much style over substance with it, but I don't mind all of that style. I love some of when you actually see all like how huge he is, like 8 foot or something, and so foreboding. I love that. Harking back to the original with the shadow stuff, wasn't as good as the original. Don't do it. It just
I agree it wasn't as good as the original, but it never was going to be in a colour movie, I don't think.
I also think that I didn't mind. Yeah, like I said, I like the sexualization of their relationship. Something that I saw the theme of from the original. I don't know if you remember me talking about sexy time between Orlok and the sexual tension there, which wasn't so overt as this one. And I liked that I actually kind of got proven right with that.
Yeah,
from what
it
I
very
was
much
saying
went with
about-
your interpretation.
Yeah,
there at
so
the end.
I love that. And I didn't. Yeah, I thought. What's her face? I thought Lily Rose. She is a really, really good actress. I really enjoyed her performance. I'm not going to go as far as saying it's like Oscar worthy, as it seems to be what you're saying. But I do think it's a good performance overall, with a few sort of wooden Keira Knightley type moments within it. And I do like the added in bit with Willem Dafoe. I liked the fact that they went with the religious over the science, which they do in 1922. That one they work more
and
within
it's
that.
kind of stressed that they were forced to as well. Science had no answer.
Exactly.
I quite like when movies do.
And
that.
I quite like that it's like almost anti-science message. I'm not saying that they want that in society. I'm just saying that in this film, it's quite refreshing to see something where
That was explicit in the original, wasn't it? It was like anti-Age of Enlightenment like sentiment at that time in Germany.
Yeah.
So I like all of that, and I think it's a really pretty good film. I just disappointed in the third act. I'm a little bit disappointed in Orlok. and I just like winding everyone up a bit.
Yeah.
Controversy creates cash. Mike.
So I'd give it an 8 out of 10, which is actually only half more than you. Even though I speak about it a bit more warmly, I think it does have some problems, but I'm willing to look past those because of the strength of the first hour, and particularly the castle scenes. I mean, if the entire movie was the quality of those castle scenes, then I'd be slapping a 10 on this bad boy, but it's not. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. I mean, if anything, if I came home drunk and wanted to put some music on and watch something good to just look at the
I'd watch
thing.
1922 with
same thing. But I think it's valid for this movie as well. It's just so good looking. So yeah, good one.
Go on
good
then,
movie.
Dave. Take us home.
Yeah, well, as I said, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect, but for me, my main issue was just like the use of jump scares. I don't like hate them out of principle, but I don't like them normally.
I wouldn't think it was excessive in any
I
kind
didn't
of
either,
way.
to be honest.
Yeah.
I quite liked
Because the movie was so long,
It jolted
we only
me
got-
a bit in back into it, and I was like, "Oh, that's fun."
Well,
A bit of fun for me.
I preferred
And
like
they weren't cheap as well, I would say. They were
I don't know.
pretty
There was
well-
one like with Lydia Rose Depp that was clearly like a cheap.
Oh
one.
yeah, the
audience
one
was
where it's
expensive.
her and it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a bit chuckle worthy. That one. I'm
Is
not
that the
sure
one where
whether it
she's
was.
got the blood running down her mouth?
no, it's with Emma Corrin and she turns around and Lydia Rose Depp is behind her.
Yeah, and she says something moderately
Oh,
creepy.
I guess that's the
Yeah.
only cheap.
That wasn't so great.
I guess that's the only cheap one, but the ones that stand out in my mind are the good ones.
Yeah,
which were the good ones?
Well, like where he like grabs onto the when he's trying to stake it
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
heart.
Yeah, the one with the kids.
On the ship.
Yeah, the one where he comes from behind on the ship is.
Oh, I didn't like
good.
that one.
Did you not?
No,
What-
and I don't know if
Is it because he just expected it? So
maybe I don't know. Maybe I was lamenting like that they had abridged that section so much that it basically just was reduced to one jump scare.
yeah.
Possibly. But overall, I really liked it. I liked what they did with Ellen, and like to say that those themes weren't or couldn't be read in the original would be wrong. But I think like choosing this, making like this version of Ellen more explicit, this reading, I really liked. I love the performances, like the set design, the production, unparalleled as always with Robert Eggers. Overall, I can't wait to watch it again. I can't wait to own it myself. I don't remember what I gave The Substance. I still prefer The Substance.
Oh, please
Yeah,
say you prefer the
definitely.
substance.
Yeah.
For God's sake, Dave.
it wouldn't put
the fucking substance, man.
this wouldn't be in my top 5. But
This-
actually,
this isn't-
I didn't contend with the fact that I think this is probably my second favorite Robert Eggers after The Witch. But possibly only because I'm not so sure about the other two. But.
What would you give out of 10?
I think I gave The Substance an 8.5. I want to bump that up to a 9 and then give this an
No,
8.5.
too late. No,
So
no,
this
no,
would
no.
be your second
So this
favorite
is
of
an 8, yeah.
2024.
This is an 8.
No. It's an 8.5 and The
So
Substance
it's
is
the
a 9.
same as the substance.
After all this arguing with like 7.5, 8.
Yeah. Well, it's
Round about
you
the
always
same.
talk about the differences, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be in my top 5, I think. I mean, it's still pretty recent, so difficult to say, but I mean, it could easily like pip Alien, probably Terrifier 3. That's just my taste.
Definitely terrifying. That's 6 out of 10.
Get out. Leave your own house right now.
Yeah, maybe number 2. I don't know. Yeah, not as good as The Substance. But I need to rewatch them all again, to be
Fair
honest.
enough. I'd need to remember what I put in my top 5.
Yeah.
So it might squeeze in at 5 for all I know. I can't remember what I put there. But
Yeah, loved it. And I was really excited for it, and it lived up to the expectation for me. So can't wait to watch it again.
yeah, I went in with my usual Eggers hat on, where I don't usually like his movies. And it took me a second watch to watch The Witch, but I liked it. Maybe I'll watch it again and love it, perhaps. The first one I've watched where it didn't overwhelmingly hit with style over substance. So. Yes.
All right, then. That is our review of Nosferatu 2025. Newsday release. So we'll go with 25. Yes, like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you think, if you agree with any one of us, or if you just want to complain. And if you want to complain about me, fuck you.
Who's the wrongest on this
Yeah,
podcast?
exactly.
They're all like 0.5 out of 10 away from each other, basically.
And if you do disagree with me, then subscribe as well. Love you really. Right,
Yeah,
bye.
really confusing by saying Joker 2 was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right then. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.